Welcome to Off-Duty Engineer. I am Alan. This channel is for some of my scale modeling projects, plastic aircraft, wooden ships, and dioramas to display them. This is a summary of the scale model build of the Avro Shackleton aircraft, Revell Kit 1:72 scale. This is an out-of-the-box build. First, photos of the final result. I show the Shackleton here with a few of the other models that I have built. You can see the Shackleton is sizably larger than the Avro Lancaster in the first photo, even though they came from the same design origins. Next is the details of the Revell kit. The kit details are Avro Shackleton MR3 by Revell, kit number 03873 in the scale of 1/72. The box is quite large, an indication of the size of this 1:72 scale model. The model dimensions are 390 mm long by a wide wingspan of 507 mm. I love big models. There are 209 parts, and as there are only 2 engine options, most of the parts are used. Revell classed this kit as a level 5 of 5 for more experienced builders. I'm not sure if I classify myself as a 5, but always willing to learn. The instruction book is large format and full color and 28 pages. There are 14 sprues, including the clear window sprues. The plastic sprues are just off-white. The instruction book is well detailed and easy to follow. There are 2 color scheme options, both from the UK, and look very similar in paint colors and decals. Both are nice. Either would do. The wide wings with a large surface area are the design that allowed the Shackleton to stay airborne for really long periods of time, suited for offshore extended searches, tasked for submarine warfare and later to naval research and rescue missions. The first step was to clear my workspace. Inspect the sprues, very little flash. No warping of the long wings. Good. Here is some interesting history of the Avro Shackleton. The Avro Shackleton has a long and interesting history. First developed in the 1940s for the RAF Coastal Command in response to the expansion of the Soviet submarine force. The design origins are from the Avro Lancaster bomber to the Avro Lincoln to the Avro Shackleton. The family resemblance to the Lancaster is clear, with a sizable enlargement. This photo is an MR3 circa 1955. The operational life was from the 1940s to 1991. This is a 50-year service and is commendable. Primary users were the RAF and South African Air Force, SAAF. 8 were delivered to the SAAF. This photo is the South African Air Force one, circa 1982. Main revisions are the MR1, MR2 and MR3. The MR stands for Maritime Reconnaissance. There are other variants including the AEW2. The MR4 design was not pursued. The MR1 and MR2 had tailwheel configuration, with the front undercarriage wheels opening forwards to get the center of gravity to suit that landing gear. This is similar to the Lancaster design. The MR3 was sized up some more, larger fuel capacity with the wingtip tanks, and changed to a tricycle landing configuration with a nose wheel and the underwing landing gear opening rearwards to get the center of gravity to suit this configuration. The original prototype had Rolls-Royce Merlin engines, ref the Spitfire. They were changed to the Rolls-Royce Griffon with 4-meter diameter contra-rotating props. A later engine upgrade was to add Hawker Siddeley Viper turbojet engines to the outer nacelles only for assisted takeoff. The wing spars had to be strengthened for this. This image shows the various derivatives showing the shapes and relative sizes. I was in the South African Air Force around the mid-70s, and there were a few Shackletons in service then. They were majestic, in low, lazy takeoffs, flying, and low-angle approach of landing. The sound of those 4 engines and 4 sets of contra-rotating props was memorable. The South African Air Force Shackletons were given names, Pelican and a number. This photo is Pelican 21. The 21 is on the nose. The SAAF ended up with the last 2 Shackletons still in service. They were based in Cape Town, where I lived. They were Pelican 16 and Pelican 22. Pelican 16 was dispatched from Cape Town, South Africa to Duxford, England in July 1994. It was to participate in an air show, then remained for preservation. But Pelican 16 had two engines, number 3 and number 4, fail over the Sahara Desert in northern Mauritania on that flight. It was ditched in belly landing in the soft sand. All 19 crew survived. In the photo, the 19 on the ground is to indicate to search and rescue how many survivors there are. The crew were soon found and returned to South Africa. Pelican 16 is still in this location. SAAF's Pelican 22 was left as the last airworthy Shackleton. I saw it at a few final air shows. It was grounded later for safety reasons. The main wing spars were deteriorated. It is now on show for preservation. There is insufficient experienced crew to fly it now. The photo shows 22 on the nose. It is still on display. Next is the building of the Shackleton aircraft kit. The first step was to clear my workspace. Inspect the sprues, assess quality. The moulding is quite new in 2019, so I expect good quality. Checking for flash, I found very little. A bit is quite acceptable, of course. There is no warping on the long wings. Before starting, I washed the plastic sprues in warm soapy water, rinsed them and let them dry. I opted for a wheels down model, standing on the ground with the doors and loading bay open. As usual, the cockpit build is first. The instruction book is very clear and detailed. I painted as I went along, hand painting using Tamiya acrylic and spray cans. This was before I procured an airbrush. The windows were cemented into the fuselage. I used canopy glue to prevent frosting. In retrospect, I should have added standard glue after this to fix the windows in better. The main wing spars were completed next. After dry fitting the wing spars could be cemented into place. The cockpit and the nav area is fitted into a fuselage half. Dry fit the other half of the fuselage often to check the fit. This kit was perfect. The rest of the fuselage interior is fitted into the same fuselage half. The wings are prepped. Test fit to remove any flash, ejector pin marks, moulding edges, etc. to ensure a good clean fit. The interior areas of the wings are painted white as required. The fuselage halves are glued together. Take your time, use a slower glue, allow time to align and clamp. I used clamps and masking tape to assist holding the parts together accurately. The wing top and bottom sections were glued and clamped. Again, masking tape used to assist that the edges close properly. Be careful to keep the glue out of the parts that need to move. The wingtip tanks are assembled, then fitted to the wings. The wings are then glued to the fuselage. Use slower glue to allow clamping alignment and check the dihedral. It is best to give big glue jobs overnight to set properly. The tail planes are assembled, then fitted to the fuselage. The two tail fins assembled and then fitted into place. All the moving parts are free to move. This is the plane so far. There were no areas that needed sanding and filling yet. A good kit. Thank you, Revell. The 4 engine housings were assembled and then fitted. The fit to the wings was not that good, and some fill and sanding was required to close off the joints and make them even, then the joints scribed again. The glass was masked. I used green masking liquid painted on with a toothpick. This is when I realized that the canopy glue is not very strong and 2 of the windows popped out. It was quite a job getting these back in again. Next time I will use normal glue after the canopy glue to fix the windows in well. Masking of the white areas under the wings, flaps, wheel wells and cargo bay. Close the canopy area and the doors. Then paint the whole plane in grey primer. I used a Tamiya spray can. Then paint the whole plane and loose parts in dark grey. Again I used Tamiya spray can. Those were the days before I had the airbrush. Remove the masking from the bottom and inspect. Looks good so far. Mask the top of the fuselage, then paint the top white. Again, I used Tamiya spray can. This is the Shackleton build so far. I was happy with the result. Ready to move on to the final steps. Assembling the undercarriage parts was very finicky. The parts are small and thin. I resorted to using some clear sprue as rods internally to strengthen the undercarriage struts. I also made the doors touch the undercarriage struts to add another glue point for strength. This is part of the Revell design that could have been a bit off scale to thicken the struts for more strength. Next was fitting the main cargo doors in place. The really thin hydraulic rams were too small to use, so I used a bit of clear sprue instead. I was well aware that with the tricycle landing gear, i.e. the nose wheel configuration, that the weight distribution would be such that the aeroplane would tip backwards. I needed some weight near the front, ahead of the main landing gear point, to bring the nose down. I experimented by filling all 4 empty engine nacelles with nails per this photo. But this was not sufficient to bring the nose down. I had to look for some lead bar as used by plumbers. The engine and propellers were prepared and then painted. A lead bar was found at the farmer's market, perfect for this application. I measured the maximum piece of lead bar that would go into each of the empty engine nacelles and cut the lead. The result is shown. This worked. The Shackleton now stood directly on its undercarriage. In the photo you can see that the main undercarriage is not so strong. Some brass pins as axles would have been better. The lead in place, next is finalizing the engines, exhausts and props. The counter-rotating props are free to rotate if careful attention is paid to assembly and gluing. I also used a tad of lithium grease on the concentric shafts to free the rotation some more. Do not use mineral or petroleum-based grease for this, like CRC or W40. It will melt the plastic. This is the progress so far. Then a coat of clear gloss from Tamiya spray can. The final items prepared, painted and then fitted. The antennas on the top, etc. The decals are next. Being a new model, the decals were fresh and good to apply. I used Tamiya Strong on the surface and afterwards, gently positioning the decal and press out the air and liquid using a cotton bud and a rolling action. A little while later, press the decal again to ensure that the seat seats well into the panel lines and over the rivets, etc. Then when completely dry, top coat with a clear satin coat to lock the decals in. All done. Here are photos of the Shackleton complete. This was a very satisfying build. It took about 6 weeks. The Revell kit is new from 2016 with new parts 2019, so all fitted well. It was a good quality kit. The Shackleton build brought back many memories of my time in the South African Air Force. This was the reason why I purchased the Shackleton kit in the first place. I may build it again with an airbrush and add custom SAAF insignia and decals. Or maybe I do a diorama of Pelican 16 in the Sahara Desert. That is all. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please follow, like, subscribe, etc. See you next time. Thank you.